point, Operation Spectre Rising still rages on. We have a couple of more weeks before we kick over into Operation 5, whatever that may bring as of the start of July. And Days of Summer has not necessarily come and gone, but the big stuff has been dropped already. Whether you're on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, or PC, at this time you should have the majority of what are the bigger things here. But that said, there's still one more update hidden within Operation Spectre Rising, and that is yet to come. That is update 1.19, and what we're going to be previewing here today in this video. We're going to be talking about what you can expect and when to expect it in particular throughout the rest of this. As with other preview videos, some of this stuff does come down to speculation, i.e. the timing, but other stuff is rooted and based in sheer fact and information that we already have out there, but just pulling it all together in one place so you can easily digest all of it. So that said, let's jump into it. The first and biggest thing coming out of update 1.19 is something that I'm sure a lot of players are going to be able to, well, hopefully benefit from here with this, but I'd love to see this ideally come across all three modes of MP, Blackout, and Zombies, but we don't exactly know how it's going to work out just yet. We just know that at the moment, contracts are still on the way for Black Ops 4. Now, curiously enough, we're 8 months into Black Ops 4 going on 9, but this is still a big thing that can change a lot of the dynamic of how we interact with Black Ops 4 daily. The only information that we have definitively here on this comes down from the Days of Summer update from Treyarch and the post they made over on Reddit. They simply said, with our next major update in late June, we're launching contracts in Black Ops 4 to give players new ways to earn additional in-game rewards. We've heard your request for more rewards through gameplay, and we're designing Black Ops 4's contract system to provide new benefits for playing your way. Now, of course, the next major title update is what we're talking about, 1.19, confirmed for that, but as for how this will work out exactly, we don't really have a clue. Personally, I see this going one of two different ways. One being that it goes the route of Black Ops 3, that will have daily and weekly contracts and also a special contract, where ultimately it doesn't offer all that much outside of what we saw with Black Ops 3. Black Ops 3, we had crypto keys you could end up earning for both dailies and weeklies, and the special only came around once every so often. Or what I'm really hopeful for is that it kind of follows the same similar model as Call of Duty World War II with their order and contract system, where you have dailies and weeklies, you also have those specials, but they offer something that is actually worthwhile. If it goes that route, maybe Black Ops 4 introduces for the daily contracts one bundle crate per daily, and then the weekly you end up getting a weapon bribe or a dupe protected set of 5 or something like that. Or maybe in-game currency is introduced where you can alternatively buy things in the shop, as well as those bundle crates with in-game currency, not just COD points. Maybe that stuff is introduced, but the biggest thing that I'm really hoping for is specific weapon contracts. World War II did this absolutely brilliantly. Sure, it would have been nice to have a couple of more at a time, but we ended up getting the option organically to play for and earn every single DLC weapon for no additional charge. You didn't have to buy it if you didn't want to. You didn't have to open supply drops if you didn't want to. You could just wait for that contract to come around, and you'd be guaranteed that pretty much for just completing a simple contract challenge. Granted, there was a time limit on it, and there was a challenge associated with it you had to complete in that time frame, but again, they were so easy that you pretty much were guaranteed that weapon. Now, like we've talked about before, this is probably the last biggest portion of Black Ops 4 that will be added to the game, being that it is so late in the year's life cycle already. We're nearing 9 months of this game being out already, which is kind of crazy how fast time has passed. But I don't really see any major game updates happening after this, so to me, this is a make or break thing, something that really does have potential to remedy some situations and some things that have been pretty terrible to the consumer beforehand, or it could go the routes of completely ignoring the problems at hand and making things even worse. So this is a big one and something that we'll see in a relatively short period of time, but that's going to be coming with update 1.19. Other things including on the MP side, possibly 2 brand new maps, one of which is guaranteed and we have definitive information on because of the roadmap that we had with the very beginning of Operation Spectre Rising, that being Hacienda Twilight. This being a more so later at night version, but not necessarily quite pitch black yet, of the map Hacienda, which personally to me, I'm a fan of Hacienda. I'll play this one out, and even though it might be an unpopular opinion, I'm all for these sorts of things. They don't cost anything to the player, and they're just a different way to play a map that you already may be familiar with. So it's kind of like a new map, but not having to learn an entirely new map at the same time. But personal opinion aside, I know that some people aren't necessarily too fond of that, but the other map that may be free is that of Splash. the DLC map from Black Ops 3, and what could ultimately play into the tail end of Days of Summer here with this, which is quite curious to me because we'd already gotten a free map with the launch of Days of Summer, which was already unexpected in and of itself, but to see in the game files the loading screens for Splash, that's something definitely crazy as well. Outside of that, there's not really all that much in terms of game files that point to this coming back, but that's because, well, if you put it in the game files, it confirms it. If anything, if it's going to be coming back, I'd expect those to be in the game files as of update 1.19 and that title update coming there, but curious why we have any sort of hints towards that if it's not going to be coming in the game files for update 1.18. Legacy code is one thing, but you'd see that from the very launch if that was something that came along. And, of course, with some slight alterations, it indicates it's a newer version of it. The final thing on the MP front is potentially another customization drop because there are still indications within the game files that there are other Mark II weapons that have yet to make their way into the game. The biggest one that was found were icons for a SOG 9mm Mark II. That was something found in the game files, but we don't see it just yet, either in reserves or earnable at all in the game. So that's something that could be an indication for Operation 5 coming up, but it also could be something that maybe we see some other drops because if you guys remember back to, I think it was like the second half of Operation Grand Heist, maybe it might have been a little bit before that, but we saw that there was that Swordfish Mark II added in with the Replacer bundle, but at the same time we ended up getting the Koshka as well as the Cordite Mark II variants as well, and that was later on in the operation. So that's something that could be happening here again with this, but we don't exactly know entirely. Talking weaponry a little bit further, I wouldn't necessarily expect right now at least anything that denotes weapon tuning, but instead we may be seeing the way of weapon adjustments in terms of more being added to Blackout. We still have yet to see things like the Tiger Shark and the Vendetta, both of which in the contraband streams from the first half and the second half of Operation Spectre Rising, and so with those being available to all players just simply out of the grind, they should have been put in already, but we haven't seen those added in just yet, so with the next title update, it's not a bad idea to expect those. Outside of that, I can't imagine anything for a Blackout map update, but moving along to zombies, we see a couple of different things coming. The first one being that of hard mode gauntlets already being confirmed by Treyarch as coming as of the next update. Coming again from that Days of Summer blog post saying the team is currently hard at work on even more content for the remainder of Operation Spectre Rising, including the launch of hard mode gauntlets and an increased in-game reward for zombies players. Now, what these may entail, your guess is as good as mine. Probably just up difficulty in terms of the zombie hordes. I can't imagine they alter the entire makeup of those 30-round challenges, but it's also possible. But the biggest thing here outside of that for zombies is something zombies fans have been waiting for forever. That being factions, something that was previewed May 17th, 2018, over a year ago at this point, at the reveal event for Black Ops 4, and we've yet to see it introduced into the game. Factions looks to change how zombies could be played at a fundamental level, and as of the Operation Spectre Rising, the initial update, not Days of Summer, we saw some things that may have indicated imagery pointing to factions, but we thought maybe it'd come with the Days of Summer update. It's yet to do that, so the only other thing, if they're keeping the timetable that was tweeted out a couple of months ago at this point, saying that it would come within this operation, well, then it has to be update 1.19. And all in all, that is the big content here that we know of out of this. It might come with some different playlist adjustments or smaller things that may at the time be worth noting, but right now, these are the big ticket things you can probably expect with update 1.19. But as for when we can see them, that's the next big question because, well, it's an open book right now up until, well, when we see July 9th is that time where we see Days of Summer and Operation Spectre Rising roll over into the next operation. Until then, it's kind of an open playing field as for when everything could happen. But we do have some hints and clues that may indicate when exactly it may be, so let's talk about that real quick before we wrap this up. We end up seeing that there's the mention many times in that Days of Summer blog post saying the end of June, the next title update, the end of June. That to me usually indicates that it's going to be the final week of June, and so therefore we can take a look at tentatively the date of June 25th. That's a Tuesday, the final Tuesday of that in the month, and all our updates normally happen on Tuesdays. So that's something to consider, but what strengthens this then is that the fact this is 2 weeks out from when Operation 5 will kick in on July 9th, which, as we know and we've talked about many a times here on the channel, Activision and Call of Duty love to stick to a 2-week marketing window where they have time to start prepping things, but also let that thing that happened 2 weeks ago have some time to breathe. So of course we'll have the update where there's a lot of cool stuff coming, and that'll be that week of the 25th to the 2nd. That's that time to shine, and then as of the 2nd, that's when we'll probably start to see some teasers teasers for the next operation kick in before its launch on the 9th, 1 week following that. So to me, the 25th makes all the sense in the world here for this, and I don't really think that I'd expect anything else to happen before then, but who knows, maybe something changes schedule and we get that a little bit earlier than normal, which to me, I'm totally fine with if we end up getting some cooler content sooner rather than later. But ultimately, that's where I think we're going to see this and what I think will be dropping with that update in particular. So that's where we're going to wrap it up. Hopefully this helped you out and enlighten you a little bit more as to what's coming, and hopefully you did enjoy the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below. Is there anything in particular that you're looking forward to here out of update 1.19 in Black Ops 4? Is there anything that we didn't cover that you're hoping comes in this update? Anything in particular that we did that you're excited for? Whatever it is, feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Black Ops 4, MP, Blackout, Zombies. We get you covered the best of updates, news, information, tips, tricks, all that good stuff. So if any of that interests you, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. If you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, there's the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. Probably live on both those. If you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. So let's send out of the way. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Mine is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.